This episode is brought to you by Humble Love Magnesium Cream. Great for sleep, stress, and pain. Should a godly homemaker be morbidly obese? Should Christians, normally speaking, be okay with being fat? In today's America, all of us have an inner fatty trying to get out, let's be honest. At least that's how I feel most days. But how can we win the fight with our inner fatty? Today, we continue a series we hope has been helpful to you so far in the pursuit of faith and fruitfulness in the duties God has put before you. In this series, entitled On Being Human, we're working through 4 parts of what it means to be human, 4 areas of life where a man or a woman can pursue excellence, fruitfulness, virtue, and honor. And these 4 areas are the physical, the spiritual, the social, and the vocational. In the physical, we're talking all about the body, physical fitness, nutrition, appearance, and just generally taking care of ourselves in such a way as to be able to do our duties in the body with joy. In the spiritual, we'll be talking about personal piety and virtue, spiritual disciplines, and the whole-souled pursuit of the life of faith. In the social, we're talking about social graces, emotional aptitude, friendliness, hospitality, and more. The art and science of being a normal and likable person who is not super weird and awkward. And in the vocational, we'll be talking about achievement, about pursuing excellence in your work, whatever it is that God has put in front of you. Now, last week, we spoke very specifically about one aspect of the body composition. We talked about some of the key principles in losing weight and maintaining a healthy body composition, along with some other related issues. In that episode, we promised that we would get specific in this follow-up on food, working through dieting, cooking, meal planning, and all the other elements of eating smart. And that is just what we're going to do, with an emphasis on the practical and actionable. Productive Christian households, after all, run on good food. This is no small thing. So join us in this episode of Bright Hearth for a look at powering your people without making them look like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Welcome back to Bright Hearth. That was quite...
All written by Lexy.
No.
That whole cold open.
That was
I want you to know.
Brian vibes.
Pillsbury Doughboy, that was her line. Everyone said it was a great line. They all said it was the best. They said, Lexy, you call people fat better than anybody else. I don't know why I'm doing a Trump impression.
I was cringing through most of that.
Lexy was like, Brian, you've just offended everybody. Look, I'm not lying to you when I say that I have an inner fatty trying to get out. I understand. I'm one of you. Okay. All right. Okay. All those skinny people out there with their, metabolisms and, my older metabolisms. My older brother is like 160 pounds and taller than me. And he just has a 6-pack naturally because and it drives me nuts. I've been like, we grew up in the same house. I feel like we didn't do much different activity or anything like that.
That's true.
I mean, he did play midfielder and I did play goalkeeper in soccer. So I was the guy that stood still and he ravn 9 miles every game. But I can't be responsible for that. Okay. Yeah. Babe, how you doing this morning? This lovely,
great
kind of fall morning. Are we in a fall yet?
No, not yet. A few more days.
Okay. As people are listening to this, they're like, it's November 10th. You're
fall.
Crazy. It's
nice
like almost
and
winter.
Warm. It's perfect.
Yep.
Perfect weather here in Utah where we actually want to eat outside. We actually want to go for a walk after dinner. It's
so nice.
Beautiful.
It is really beautiful. Do you know what else is beautiful, babe?
What?
The people that support Bright Hearth on Patreon. All of them are skinny and attractive. Every single one of them is smarter than average, I think, from what I understand. That's what I've been told.
I'm not a man. I'm not going to banter back and forth in the same way that Eric would. So this is just awkward to me.
I'm sorry, babe. No, we do want to. Eric and I were just talking. Speaking of Eric, we were just talking the other day about how just big money is so subversive in the world of conservative media, just media in general, but conservative media. And we were talking about specifically just one conservative content creator who kind of peeled the layers back and said, basically, I turned down a bunch of money from this group that was trying to
recently
give me money. Yeah.
Oh.
And it was like, clearly that money, it was free, but it came with hidden strings. So genuinely, one of the things when we started New Christian Press, one of the reasons that we have things like Patreon and we exist because of funding through books and things like that, is because it allows us to say what we believe is true without any strings getting pulled. So sincerely, thank you to all of our patrons. If you'd like to support the show, there's a link in the description. And speaking of Patreon, we've got 2 big pieces of news. This is for all listeners, and it's for patrons of the show in particular. This week, we are back to weekly episodes. So you won't have to wait 2 weeks after this episode, November 10th, the year of our Lord 2025. You won't have to be waiting until the 24th for your next episode of Bright Hearth. No, you can log in to your podcasting application on November 17th, and you will see a fresh episode of Bright Hearth.
Or is it Tuesdays or Mondays?
Mondays.
Oh, that's nice starting your week with.
Yeah,
that's nice.
We've been releasing on Mondays for 3 years running, so naturally Lexi's totally locked in and knows all about it.
I'm trying.
Lexi was just before.
Stop, move along.
Before we were here, she was like, it was 2 things in a row.
I even had it saved in my password section in the wrong
she
email.
Was like, how do I log into our Patreon again? And I was like, well,
listen, guys, it's been on my phone for years. I was trying to get on top of it on my laptop.
On the laptop.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
you can still laugh at me.
She goes, it's trying to create a new account. I'm like, well, babe, what email are you using? That's not the right email at all. So I just logged in for her.
Thank you.
And then she said, I can't find the file I was working on.
Hopefully I can get in touch with you all a little bit faster now.
Yeah. And she also didn't know
Brian?
where the files were in the computer. It was no. This is why Lexi's so great, is because she doesn't know any of this stuff. She's not frivolously wasting her time on computers and whatnot.
Also,
she is locked in on homemaking.
When I used to write regularly for magazines, I had not a Mac.
It's true.
I don't know how to use a Mac as effectively, and I have said that for years. I need like an old person class. Literally, I'm telling you, you need to sit down with me and show me how to do this whole thing.
This is a failure of leadership.
I will be more effective. I can do this. I know I can.
It's a failure of leadership.
I just don't understand the Mac in the same way that
I should have done this. I shouldn't be making fun of you.
You made me switch to a Mac.
Much.
It was you. I didn't want to. And you showed up one day on my birthday and said, guess what I got you? And I said, oh, crap.
Oh, no. We're a Mac family. Well, enough of that. But we're going to be back to weekly, not only weekly episodes, but for our supporters on Patreon, we are releasing those episodes, of course, ad-free, but they also get them a week early. And they also have access to a whole podcast just for patrons called In the Kitchen. This is a very short, practical podcast, often little episodes related to something we've been talking about in the show, but sometimes just things patrons are asking or different things Lexi has on her mind. So recent episodes, we've talked about strength training programs Lexi's used, how to have hard conversations. In this episode, she'll be talking about something I don't know about yet, but it's going to be great.
Yeah, we've had a lot of questions on how our church ladies effectively use the Signal groups.
Oh, yeah, because we use this a lot.
I really do think that there's some really unique ways that they've used them to become more productive at home. So I'm going to share about a couple of the different groups on Patreon.
Awesome. Okay, well, one last housekeeping note before we jump into this topic, and I hope that you have already gotten on top of this. It's November 10th. But if you're not deep into your Christmas shopping, then may I commend to you Lexi's book. She's got Wisdom on Her Tongue. It's been out for a couple months now, but you can buy it in bulk, 5 copies or more, and use code BULK15. That's all caps BULK15, and get 15% off. And also there's free shipping in the U.S. So great opportunity if you want to buy it for the ladies in your life. Then we would definitely commend it to you. And also, you can gift a Patreon subscription now very easily. They just added this last year. So if you go to our page, there should be an option when you're looking at the different tiers of support to gift a membership, and you can select anything from 1 month up to a whole year and gift it to somebody. So if you forget, if you're listening to this on December 23rd and you have no idea what to get someone in your life, get them a Bright Hearth Patreon subscription, and it is, again, guaranteed to make you more intelligent, funny. All of your jokes will be 33% funnier, and you will be a more interesting person. This is all guaranteed, not legally, but it's a kind of guarantee, Right, Lexi?
Right.
That's right. If you're like us, you're intentional with how you care for your family, what they eat, read, even how they rest. But most people don't realize chronic magnesium deficiency is common. That's why we use Humble Love's Magnesium Cream. Made by a husband and wife team, it's crafted with real nourishing ingredients. No synthetics ever. Safe for the whole family, gentle for kids, and strong enough to bring deep relief. Make it part of your daily routine by visiting thehumblelifestore.com. That's thehumblelifestore.com. And use code NCP15, that's all caps NCP15, for 15% off your first jar. When you have a busy house, the immediate demands of activities, events, and never-ending to-do lists can overshadow critical long-term decisions. Life insurance, financial planning, education savings, and retirement are continually backburnered. Joe Garrissey and his team from Backwards Planning Financial will help you maximize financial tools, management, and strategies so you can focus on your home and have confidence for your financial future. Visit backwardsplanningfinancial.com. That is backwardsplanningfinancial.com, or call 615-767-2555 to speak with Joe to develop a plan for the future. Look, Bright Hearth listeners, my lawyers have told me that I'm not allowed to guarantee that using Indigo Sundry Soap Company products will make you more attractive, but I am guaranteeing that that is true. If you're looking for premium handmade soaps without the seed oils or other nasty hormone disruptors, then you need to check out our partners at Indigo Sundry Soap Company. You can find them at indigosundrysoap.com. And hey, if you use code Bright Hearth, all caps Bright Hearth, you get 10% off your order. So check it out and subscribe to one of their regular deliveries today. A good morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. You read your Bible, review your to-do list, and drink a great cup of coffee. So why would you want bad-tasting, mass-produced coffee? Lux Coffee is a Christian-owned coffee roaster that offers intentionally sourced, single-origin coffee beans. They believe that convenience is the death of quality. That's why they spend their time roasting small batches of beans to make sure that every cup of coffee tastes delicious. Start your day with coffee that is crafted for the new Christendom. You can go to luxcoffee.co and use code NCP15, that's all caps NCP15, for 15% off your handcrafted coffee. And of course, that link is in the description below. Okay, well, let's jump into our episode now, and we're going to be talking, like we said, about food. We talked about food and calorie deficits and some of the basics in the last episode about body composition and weight loss and all, that sort of thing here, talking about excellence of the body. And the first thing I want to do is, if you're offended by the idea of me saying that Christians generally shouldn't be morbidly obese, that Christians generally, when it's in a normal circumstance and we have like a normal health situation, we shouldn't be a people who are known for being very unhealthy and really fat. We should, generally be known as a people who, because we're abounding in the fruits of the Spirit, which includes self-control, that we are able to govern ourselves such that, insofar as it's up to us, we can maintain health. Now, all of the caveats are there. Obviously, we are not the lords of our health, absolutely. We can be responsible for our health insofar as it's up to us, but there are things out of our control. Some people really do have metabolic disorders. Some people really do have an injury that keeps you from being as physically active. Some people have circumstances of their life where this is just not a high priority. So hear this in the spirit, not of anybody making fun of you or trying to make you feel ashamed, but instead just saying, hey, if you're ready, if you know this is you, and there's a part of you that gets defensive, and you're like, I don't like that they're talking about this. What we're trying to do is put some tools in your hands so that you can take control of this. Because isn't it good news that it's not totally out of your control, your body composition? Yeah. Right? Anything you want to add there in terms of asterisks, caveats, things you'd want to make sure people understand about why we're talking about this topic?
I did totally forget to mention this last time, that as a nursing mom, postpartum mom, and pregnant mom, I'm not actually going for calorie deficit. I'm going for maintenance.
Yep.
So I didn't want anyone to think that that was a goal of mine, because it's definitely not. But the way that I do eat, which we'll talk about, is a way that is supposed to be mindful of losing and gaining weight slowly. So it's not, I'm not gonna hopefully gain a whole bunch of weight in pregnancy, and I'm not gonna lose quickly postpartum.
Yeah. And that is generally the principle. I don't think we put it that pointedly. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I wanted to say that.
That one good principle, what we did say was like, if you're going for weight loss, it's realistic to aim for maybe you're trying to lose 3/4 pound to 1.5 pounds a week.
Yeah, and you can use
Not
Chat
3.
GPT, and like Brett Contreras' book had a formula that I could plug in my nursing calories to make sure I'm not doing that. So
we do, it's kind of like the principle in Proverbs about wealth gained quickly, it runs away quickly as well. Like it's possible to win the lottery and have a lot of money all of a sudden. It's possible to lose a lot of weight really quickly and keep it off. That's technically possible. But much more common and likely is that people who slowly with good habits over a significant period of time establish good health practices, they slowly see improvement in all facets of their physical fitness and health, not trying to crash in 3 weeks down to some goal weight or, bulk up to being able to do a 600-pound deadlift from never having done it before in 3 months. It's like most people just can't do that. You kind of preempted one of my questions I was going to ask you. I might as well just ask it now. And it is the question of how you've worked through the challenges of maintaining a healthy weight through multiple pregnancies. What lessons have you learned, mistakes, successes? How have you thought about food through this in particular?
Okay, so I've always, even before I had children, food is just interesting to me. I would naturally read books about it.
Yeah.
Nutrition. What isn't as interesting to me is like exercise and working out and eating for diet.
Sure.
Okay.
I can vouch.
That part has always come naturally to me. It's not hard for me to figure out what is healthy to eat and what is not healthy to eat. Early on, I was vegan. So that was a huge ditch that I fell into.
Yeah.
But even harder for me was vacillating the other end of the spectrum, was like whole hogged, Weston A. Price, all fat all the time, which I needed to make that correction for sure. But I think that is when it then became harder for me to naturally balance weight gain and weight loss in pregnancy.
Yeah.
Right? So, because you're kind of told steak, potatoes, butter, sour cream, cultured heavy cream, like all the fats all the time. So, which is fine when you're 25, but it's definitely different when you're many babies in and having pregnancies in your 30s.
Yeah.
So, I would say that I had to kind of be humbled and realize that even with like healthy fats, there's still self-control that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even self-control. It was just misunderstanding, because you hear people say it all the time, fat cuts fat. You won't gain fat. You won't gain fat. If you just eat the fat, you won't gain fat. Because we all grew up in the 90s where our moms served nothing but...
Everything was low fat.
I can't believe it's not butter. And then everything else was low fat. Yeah.
Yep.
So then we're told, in order to eat the real stick of butter, we're told, don't worry, you won't get fat because fat cuts fat.
Yeah.
But the total misunderstanding there is, but if you overload on calories, you will get fat and sick, and you will not feel good, and you will end up on medication. So I had to really learn that the hard way, I feel like. I didn't necessarily gain a crazy amount of weight, but I definitely felt my worst in my 6th pregnancy. So that was something that I've even recently had to be like, I'm not going low fat. I'm going to eat all the nourishing fats, but I'm just not going to go hog wild on them.
Yeah, I've noticed in the 7th pregnancy here with little Penny Rennie that one thing it seemed like you were more thinking about or more, not discipline is not the right word, because you've always been disciplined about how you eat, but just your target was different. Like what you were disciplined to had a lot to do with sugar too. How you thought about and interacted with sugar in this last pregnancy.
Yeah. And that was a big gamble for me.
Yeah.
Like, do I really believe that this is contributing to my ongoing health issues? And it seemed like it was. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It really did. So I'm not scared of sugar. I think the problem is we are not active enough for our muscles to eat as much sugar as we consume. So it does end up in the bloodstream. We do end up diabetic very early. We do end up with all these other health issues. So in my pregnancy, I was just trying to be a little more cognizant of that, of like, okay, I'm still new to weight training. I don't have a very large amount of lean muscle to absorb the sugar. For the next 9 months, my hard that I was choosing was no sugar. I was either choosing the hard of high blood pressure or the hard of no sugar.
Yeah.
And so, but it's hard for me because I have a sweet tooth.
Yeah, it's true.
I really I'm typically okay. Like if it's homemade, I don't care. I'll eat it.
Right.
And so I had to be more, so that's where I have to be, the way I can be successful and disciplined with this has been not only how can I find low sugar treats, but how can I do it in a high protein way?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because my goal with this last pregnancy was increase my muscle mass so the baby gets out faster.
Yep.
So that was my goal with strength training, was like, I need to stay in shape so labor goes better. Because if I have a 32-hour long labor again, I need to be in shape.
Got to be in shape. Yep.
So those were the two big things for me, was like no sugar and how can I go truly high protein, like 150 grams plus. So does that answer some of your...
So for women, a lot of life is cyclical in different ways than men. Mm-hmm. Men have kind of shorter cycles in the sense that we have a general like daily rhythm, where men have hormonal spikes and lows through a day, but there's a lot of stability through like a month. But then men have obviously long through seasons of life where hormones do different things, and as you get older, they do different things. Women have, especially women who are in the midst of pregnancies, in their childbearing years, obviously have a monthly cycle. There's daily, there's monthly cycles that are much more pronounced. But then there's also this cycle of pregnancy and then recovery and then pregnancy and recovery. And with that comes implications for body composition, where it's really easy for a woman to gain not that much, but a little bit of a swing in probably the wrong direction of body composition. Too high of a body fat percentage.
And this is why, is because when you're pregnant, you are in a muscle loss state.
Yes.
Whether or not you are older, you just are actively losing muscle mass when pregnant. So
yeah, and then there's hindrances throughout to, like, obviously, it's obvious that a woman can't maintain exactly the same strength program throughout the whole pregnancy and delivery, and then she shouldn't, because it's dangerous.
Yes.
So God built that in, like that was God's idea. And obviously women are less physically strong in the sense that they don't have the same size muscles, though their muscles can't do the same things that male muscles do. God did that. That's a good thing. But you can get in this season, let's say over 12 years, you have 4 to 6 kids. And every single one of those pregnancies, let's say they're 24-month cycles of pregnancy and childbirth and then pregnancy again. It's really easy. You don't have to be like tremendously not self-controlled or something to add 5 to 10 pounds and then 5 to 10 pounds and then 5 to 10 pounds. And you add that by 5 and all of a sudden you're 50 to 70 pounds where you don't want to be in terms of body composition. And it's not because that woman is wildly unself-controlled. That's a point I want to make.
Yeah.
It's just she's having to figure out how to work through this issue. It's hard.
And it can be really confusing.
So I liked one of the things that you said. I want you to unpack it a little bit more, where the way that you eat through these seasons is that you think about gaining weight slowly and losing weight slowly. And I like that because it recognizes the fact that a woman will gain weight in some seasons of life. And your goal is just for that not to spiral out of control. And then for her to get back to that next season and think about that season as its own thing. Okay, I'm in a different place now. And now I want to get in a deficit, but I want to do it reasonably where I can sustain it. So explain that concept a little bit more. I think that's a very helpful concept for ladies in this season.
Well, this comes back to Trim Healthy Mama. Again, I learned this several years ago. I've had a few Trim Healthy Mama pregnancies, but...
I have a question about Trim Healthy Mama too. Okay. So if you want to go into any Trim Healthy Mama stuff, feel free.
Okay.
Because I want people to know more about it.
Okay. But my understanding was I had a hard postpartum a couple babies ago, and I was like talking to friends, how can I avoid that next time? And one of them recommended you should consider eating in a Trim Healthy Mama way because it helps. It's low sugar spikes can disrupt your hormones. So if you're having an obvious issue postpartum with hormones, maybe consider eating in a hormone-friendly way, which would be low glycemic in general. A lot of people are aware of what low glycemic is. So that's basically how I eat.
Can you explain? I couldn't define that off the top of my head.
Okay.
I think you said it just means that you're not spiking your blood sugar a lot.
Yes, you're eating foods that are like friendly to your blood sugar.
Okay.
So it would be something like instead of a piece of white sourdough bread, you might eat a sweet potato with your steak.
Okay, gotcha.
So low glycemic type foods, for me, most of the time it is gluten-free also. It doesn't have to be, but it just is. So I did that. And one of the benefits of doing that is that if you do it when you're pregnant and postpartum, you can gain slowly and lose slowly. Uh-huh. And I would say that has been my experience for sure, is that it made it so much easier.
So instead of, obviously, you're still going to see our previous episode. If you didn't listen to that one, you really should, because we're building on that. We're assuming that you understand things like a calorie deficit, that whether you eat low glycemic or not glycemic, whether you gain or lose weight is going to relate to your calorie deficit.
Yes.
What kind of calories you eat obviously matters. Like a calorie in protein, a gram of protein actually takes energy for your body to digest more than fat or sugar. So we'll talk about that in a minute with protein forward diets, but that principle is going to always be true. But there are other factors that aren't just about weight loss or weight gain, that are more about overall health, how you feel, what type of tissue you're building. Let's say you're in a bulking phase, is how lifters think about it.
Bulking.
Pregnancy is certainly a bulking phase for anybody lifting. And this is men or women. If your goal is to add more muscle to your body, you actually you're going to have to eat at maintenance and above. To build tissue, your body needs a calorie surplus.
It needs tissue.
Yeah, it's going to turn that energy into tissue. It's building something. So you have to give it more than maintenance. And so in a bulk is when you're trying to gain muscle, but you're going to gain other things with it, fat, right? You're going to gain fat as well along with it at some point. And so your goal is like, how can I gain as much muscle without gaining as much fat over the time? And then a cut is when you then turn the switch and you go into a calorie deficit, and you're now trying to burn as much fat while losing as little muscle. Because the thing is, when you're in a deficit, you're not just losing fat. You're going to lose muscle too. It's just physics.
And if you're strength training but not eating enough, the same will happen.
Yeah, you will lose muscle.
You have to commit to both if you want it to work right. So
all those principles are there underneath this. And now when we're thinking about diet, we're talking about ways to make it easier when you're considering, I have a budget of so many calories in a day. What should I spend them on?
Yeah.
Because you could technically be in a calorie deficit. Let's say you have a budget of 1,800 calories is your deficit calorie budget. Well, you could eat some pancakes and corn syrup, 1,800 calories of it, go about your duties and do your work, and you would lose weight. Like you would lose weight. Would you feel great? No. Would it be good for your maintenance of muscle mass? No. Or you could eat your 1,800 calories and get your 120 grams of protein. I'm thinking of a lady here. A man, 1,800 is probably on the low end for a calorie deficit. But let's say that you're eating your 1,800 and you got your 120 grams of protein, and you still had other stuff too. It wasn't all protein. You're going to feel better, and you're also in that cut going to lose less muscle overall. But in addition to that, for you, and this is something I haven't thought about as much, is that like the Trim Healthy Mama stuff, it thinks about the composition of meals and what kind of macros go into a meal that you're eating. Can you explain that a little bit more? There's like a type of meal that has this macro and this macro, but not this macro.
Yeah, this works. Yeah, if you're, yes, I see what you're saying. So they have like S satiating and E energizing meals.
Okay.
An E meal would be high carb but low fat. An S meal would be like a keto meal, high fat but low carb.
Okay.
When you're pregnant or nursing, you should be eating them together, but again, in a self-controlled way.
Sure.
So the way I did that, just a rule of thumb I made for myself that really worked as long as I was eating enough protein, was if I'm eating carbs and fat together, it's going to be around half of a cup of carbs with my big amount of protein, and maybe half of a teaspoon to a full teaspoon of fat.
Like
be
butter
it
or
olive oil or butter that I'm putting on my potatoes or whatever. If you are trying to lose weight, you would separate those. So
Okay.
you would not have, you might have steak and sauteed broccoli with like maybe
Right.
some melted cheddar cheese on top or something.
And that has a lot of fat and a lot of protein.
But you wouldn't add the bread or the potato
carb.
to it.
Yeah.
Or if you want something like, I don't know, pasta, if you want like some good einkorn pasta with marinara sauce, you might do something like turkey meatballs.
Okay.
Because it's a little more lean.
Less
so you're
fat.
not going to go high in the fat. And you're probably not going to go overboard on the cheese.
Yeah.
But something that's like free in your mind, if you want to, when it comes to this, is if you've had enough protein and you're still hungry and like the carbs and the fat wasn't enough to satiate you, then go overboard on your fiber vegetables. Then eat more sauteed broccoli. Then have a salad on the side. Then be okay with snacking with carrots at night or something.
Yeah.
And for me with pregnancy and nursing, I'm also thinking variety because I am nourishing a person. I don't want to eat chicken and broccoli every day. I might be choosing, if I'm going to be more consistent, I'm going to be more nutrient dense. Like today I'm going to have salmon salad.
Yeah.
So because I want that low calorie, but very nutrient dense because I'm growing a person.
Yeah.
So I think that is a difference too. I'm not just thinking of weight loss. I'm thinking of, I still want a variety of nutrient dense foods, be it sardines, be it sauerkraut, kefir, whatever, but I'm going to eat those in a more mindful, smart way. So I'm not going to gain a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
Does that
that makes
answer
total
your
sense.
question?
Yeah. And I've tried to understand this a little bit because I'm not a trim healthy mama. I am a daddy. So,
Okay.
and I think that's been a helpful program on some levels, and they've got some good practical resources there. If you're looking for some practical food resources that you just want, like they have recipes and things like that, they have a lot of good
and be
stuff.
aware, like if you are strength training, the stronger you get, the more carbs you will have to have. So you won't be able to just survive on keto forever. You shouldn't be able to survive because your metabolism requires carbs. So it does get a little more complex, and you can't just separate it forever. But it is very helpful to be aware of that.
Like keto, carnivore, a lot of these, they can be helpful as elimination diets, but we do not recommend them for long-term diets.
No.
Generally, removing whole food groups that God made is not a great idea long-term in our view, and has other deleterious consequences. If you're losing weight on them, it's because you're in a calorie deficit too.
It's not because that food group.
No, it wasn't
the problem.
magic food. And what happens is that people who go on like carnivore, for example, and lose weight, they're eating fewer calories, partly because if you think about what we talked about in the last episode, that food drive, it is lessened when you get bored of something.
Mm-hmm.
When there's highly caloric, very calorically dense food that's very tasty, you want to eat a lot of it, and it's easy to overeat it. And just a lot of that are very carb forward, sugar forward, fat forward foods. So if you take a lot of those out, all of a sudden eliminate them, it genuinely can help you be in a calorie deficit. Some people need to do them as elimination diets to figure out if there's some particular food or ingredient that they have an allergy to, or there's a problem that's happening with them. But generally, our recommendation is that you find a way to eat where you are you're following a few principles. Number one, you're identifying what type of season you're in. And there are 3 general seasons you can be in with relationship to food. You can be in a bulking season where you're actually trying to put on weight. And for whatever reason, you're trying to put on weight. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're trying to gain more muscle, you're underweight, that happens.
Yeah.
You have strength goals, something like that. That's a gaining season. Pregnancy is a gaining season for a different reason, where you're going to gain weight through pregnancy and after labor and all these things. The second is a maintenance phase. Maintenance phase is where you're trying to figure out how many calories does my body need on an average day to run without gaining or losing weight. And I'm going to try to aim to eat that amount in the balance I want. That's a maintenance phase or season. Great. If you're where you want to be, maintain. And then there's a cutting phase where you're trying to be in a calorie deficit and you want to change your body composition, lose fat, lose weight, that kind of thing. That's a cutting phase. So I need to figure out, in first principle, which of those seasons am I in? People get schizophrenic sometimes too, where they have contradictory goals. Like if your goal is, as a man, I want to lift the heaviest possible weight as quickly as possible, you can't do that while being in a cut.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like you're going to actually probably gain weight and not all of it's going to be muscle in that season, if that's your goal. And then they'll vacillate week to week between what are they trying to do. You have to figure out which season am I in. And then the second principle is that once you know what season you're in and you've figured out your calorie budget, you figure out how you want that calorie budget to be spent in a normal day. And we would recommend then that you're aiming for a high protein forward approach, not only protein, but you're figuring out for your goals, whether you're a male or a female, your body composition, what makes you feel good as well. Am I aiming for this percentage protein, this percentage fat, this percentage carbs, or something else? You have to figure that out so that you can tailor your diet. For us, we say, the classic rule of getting 3/4 of a gram to 1 gram of protein for every pound of your goal body weight. So if you're a 200-pound man and you want to get to 170, eat 170 grams of protein a day, or 150 to 170, you'll probably be good. For a lady, it's going to be different. But just these rules are out there everywhere. You figure out what calories you want to eat, and then you have to actually execute that plan. Mm-hmm. And this is where it gets tough. Mm-hmm. Executing the plan, this many calories in this form, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And that is the point where I want to turn now and talk very practically. For us, is just, let's talk about the type of food that we've found helpful in this and get practical about. So first question, Lexy, is just walk us through an average day if you're trying to maintain a calorie deficit. Let's say.
Trying to maintain a calorie
I know
deficit.
you're not right now.
Okay.
But let's say that you were.
Okay.
What kind of food would you be trying to eat most days? Think of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks.
Okay.
Just practically for you. And this isn't for everybody. It's just, what do you do?
Okay. So I would be relying on egg whites a lot because of affordability. So okay. I would, just because the type of person I am hungry a lot. So I would be having pre-made, and I do this, pre-made like egg and egg white bakes or something.
Okay.
With a couple of eggs. In the past, I would have been like, no, all of my eggs have to have yolks with them because that's the most nourishing way to do it. And I'm going to eat them all raw and whatever, which I do agree with. But the reality is you don't need more than 2 egg yolks a day.
And that really will bust your calorie budget quickly because most of the calories and fat is in the yolk.
Egg yolk. So I really had to be okay with that. So I do still have some, and I do sometimes have like 3 or 4 eggs throughout the day because I will snack on boiled eggs. But in the morning, 2 eggs and half of a cup of egg whites, with sweet potatoes or like an Ezekiel muffin because that's, gluten-free, or fruit, something like that is what I would have for breakfast. Mm-hmm. And then my goal, even if I was in a calorie deficit, would still be 5 protein inputs a day of at least 25 grams each, because you do not continue to stimulate muscle if you have less than those 5. So, and I know maybe you would differ than this. This is just how I've understood it, and this is how I've done it, and it's worked for me. So that, for me, that's 3 meals and 2 snacks. So my snack would definitely be a kefir smoothie because I'm getting all of the nutrient, good fermented yumminess of raw milk with good quality fat, but I'm not getting all of the carbs and sugar that straight raw milk gives you. So I make a quart-sized smoothie in the morning right after breakfast every single day that has bananas, berries. I do a little bit of greens in there. I do okra, which a lot of people laugh about that. Mm-hmm. The reason I do okra is because it slides through your gut and it's supposed to help your gut not absorb as much fat, is the idea behind it. And then you can add all sorts of additional like nutrient goodies to it that you want. You could add like goji berries. You could add some raw honey. You could add, I do whey and aminos with it. And the reason I do whey, some people would just do aminos. I do whey because I want the extra calories from the whey because of nursing. Yeah. And just like fruit is a huge powerhouse in and of itself for lots of different reasons. But those are that's my snack, which I'll have it here in a little bit. I'll go get it out of the fridge.
Wives, you know your husband would fight for your family without hesitation. But every knight needs armor. And in today's world, that means ballistic protection made for the modern defender. Armored Republic makes real armor for real men. Law-abiding citizens, fathers, husbands, protectors. Visit armoredrepublic.com. That's armoredrepublic.com, or text JOIN, all caps JOIN, to 88027 and help your husband stand strong. Hey there, friends. Let me tell you about Gray Toad Tallow. They're a family-owned small business passionate about creating skincare products that nourish your skin with pure, wholesome ingredients. For centuries, tallow has been valued for its moisturizing and healing properties, and Gray Toad Tallow is dedicated to sharing these benefits with your family. They strive to keep their products affordable and accessible, aiming to be a blessing to you and your family. Visit graytoadtallow.com to learn more and try a balm sample pack. And don't forget to use code BRIGHT15, that's all caps, BRIGHT15, for 15% off your order. Thanks for supporting this great small business. Ready to feel like yourself again? Rebecca Belch, founder of Live Oak Integrative Health, is a board-certified functional medicine provider helping women and families achieve lasting generational health. Using advanced testing and personalized care, she uncovers the root causes and builds sustainable plans for every stage of life. And Bright Hearth listeners can get $50 off any of 3 packages. So head to liveoakintegrativehealth.com to schedule your free call and make sure you tell her that Bright Hearth sent you for $50 off one of 3 packages. This cold and flu season, fortify your defenses naturally with the Kings Ridge elderberry syrup and elderberry products. They grow the freshest elderberries at their Indiana farm, cold press them into the tastiest syrup around, and they're packed with antioxidants and vitamins to boost your immune system. Use code Bright Hearth, that's all caps Bright Hearth, for 10% off your first order at tkrfarm.com. That's tkrfarm.com. The Kings Ridge elderberry syrup. Taste the difference, help push back the curse.
A deficit for lunch would probably be like, I will do salmon salad with goat cheese and pumpkin seeds and apple and romaine and like real oil for a dressing because I want all those healthy fats. I'm not postmenopausal, so I'm still creating a lot of hormones myself. Yeah. And I need the fat to be able to do that. If I was in a calorie deficit, I probably wouldn't put the goat cheese on there. There's probably enough fat between the salmon and the dressing. Yeah. And something I've realized with the dressing is do a tiny bit of dressing, but go overboard on whatever the vinegar is, because that's usually where most of the flavor is in the dressing. Totally. And we get it backwards where we just like ladle on the oil, but really you can get a lot of flavor from a good vinegar or mustard in your dressing. Yep. So that's what I do is like apple cider vinegar and mustard in my salmon dressing. So I wouldn't put the extra fat on there.
It's funny because a lot of what you're doing is you're describing what seems like really tiny little tweaks, or replace this with this. But when you add them up over eating 3 to 5 times a day,
it's a lot.
It can be 1,000 to 1,500 calories that you've just removed from your diet.
And even
and it didn't change overall how it tasted.
Yeah.
An enormous amount,
Even when I used to cook my eggs, it used to be like a tablespoon and a half of butter in the cast iron skillet. Now I'm a little more aware, and I'll try to aim for half of a teaspoon.
Just
and you still cook it just as well. Adding a little bit of salt makes it just as flavorful. Yep. And you've literally cut hundreds of calories out of your diet there.
And it didn't really change the experience of eating it that much.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. So, and then in the afternoon, my snack would be the second half of my kefir smoothie. And part of this for me is I had to be okay with some of this is just boring and repetitive, and I don't like that.
Remember what we said last episode, guys, ladies, listeners, that one of the lies we believe about food is that we are owed the tastiest possible food every time we eat. Instead of thinking about food as fuel, and then intermittently it's a glory, and there's just like you adorn, but every day is not a feast. Sometime is a feast. Every meal's not a feast. Every meal is not like, how can I get the tastiest possible food? Because let's be honest, potato chips are tastier than most food.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it just is. Donuts are tastier than most food. I'm not one of those people that's like, no, you can make a donut that has no calories. It's made of kale, seaweed, and wishes. And it tastes just as good as any fritter from your local donut shop. What a liar. No, it doesn't. I mean, even with the witchcraft that they can do today with like protein gummies and stuff like that.
Cookie Butter Whey, guys, still haven't tried it.
It is good, and but most of the time, two things are true about it. It's genuinely not as good.
It's true.
And secondly, it's like 80 times more expensive, these really specialty diet foods.
Yeah.
They're not really sustainable for a family of 9 like us.
No.
So you say, Lexi and I are going to eat designer high protein food all the time, like cereal that has tons of protein, but it tastes like Fruity
Magic
Pebbles.
Spoon. Yeah.
Yeah, but it costs $12 a box.
Yeah.
So like you're not going to be able to sustain that.
Yeah.
Better to train yourself to think about food differently. Okay, anyway. So
so I had to think that way with cottage cheese.
Yeah.
I had to think that way with kefir smoothies. Just because I'm short on time. I don't have time to make 2 boutique high protein snacks a day in addition to 3 meals and then food for the rest of my family. I just don't have the time for it.
Yep.
So I've had to compromise in my mind and just be okay with kefir. I love kefir though, guys. It is a powerhouse of nutrition. And then the seasons where I have been able to be in a deficit, which is not very many, I'm just kind of okay with eating whatever for dinner. I don't try to do anything super low fat because everyone else, most of the kids need to be prioritized at that time.
Yeah.
I'm just more mindful. I might make, if we're having pasta, I might throw a sweet potato in the Instant Pot for myself, or I'll just be more mindful of eating less of the pasta.
Serve your food first, and then tell yourself when you're putting your plate together, I'm not going to get any more than is on my plate right now.
And I think a lot of moms can be tempted to be like, oh, then I have to make sweet potatoes for everybody. And and my kids know as they've gotten older and they've watched pregnancy after pregnancy, I just tell them like, you guys are we talk to them. You're in a different phase of life. Mommy is not. This is what's good for mommy. This is what's good for the baby. No, you will not have this. Yeah. I made those for myself this week. I'm making you yummy food. No.
You can synthesize protein from anything.
Yes.
You're made of rubber bands and magic. We're old. So we're going to do the next episode following this on teaching your kids about all the stuff we talked about in the body, strength training, all this stuff, teaching it to your kids specifically. But that's a good note. Like the kids understand daddy has, I use Oikos Triple Zeros, which is a protein yogurt. It's not that expensive. It's like less than $1.50 per serving of one of these little yogurt cups. And it has 15 grams of protein in 90 calories. And it tastes good. How did they do that? Well, it's sweetened with stevia. And it has very low fat. Like it's that kind of thing. It has whey protein in it. But I use those all the time. So that's your whole day though. That's dinner, and then sometimes you might have a snack at bedtime or
sometimes.
something.
Are you kidding me?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
But like you said, you eat carrots, you eat other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I have a sweet tooth though. So when I really needed to commit to Trim Healthy Mama several years ago for the first time, I had to just tell myself, you have got to learn how to bake treats. You cannot, I know I will not be faithful to this if I cannot figure it out. So for me, that meant I bought their baking blend and I learned how to make myself. I have like 4 different desserts I like to make from them. Now, since being postpartum, my big favorite thing has been the Ninja Creamy. I love that thing. Yeah. But like you said, it can get expensive. So I don't do that very often.
The Ninja Creamy is this little appliance that makes like ice cream, and you can do real ice cream with full fat and everything, but you can also make ice cream type stuff with cottage cheese, with lots of stuff.
It's supposed to whip lower fat, lower calorie things to make you feel like you're eating ice cream.
And I'm telling you guys,
it's so yummy.
It works. It's so really good. We're not like, they're not a sponsor or anything.
No.
Ninja Creamy, reach out. We would love to, I don't know if you're evil people or whatever, but reach out. We'll talk. No, that we really like that, but it does get expensive. So that's not an every night thing.
No.
Okay. For me, if I'm thinking of a calorie deficit as a man, it is so different from what Lexi described. I'm not as concerned with the timing of
I can't even
stuff.
Listen. I start to feel panicky for
know.
you.
and it's because I'm a man and we're different. Like genuinely, this is fine. This is one thing that I actually want people to understand is that husband and wife don't have to eat identically. We've engineered our life so that we can eat dinner together, all of us, and nobody is on like a crazy hyper special thing. So like I get home, I eat whatever Lexi makes for dinner and I'm happy about it. It's great. And she cooks nutritious protein food. Like that's true. But it's just, even if it was pasta with not as much protein, I'm just going to eat it, try to be responsible. The way that I think about a calorie deficit is that I have to make all my decisions up front and then I have to stick with them. So I don't eat anything for breakfast. I drink black coffee. I never add calories to my coffee ever. Pretty much ever.
I do. I always have raw heavy cream in mine.
Yeah, there you go.
I would die if I didn't.
I love black coffee. So I will eat lunch, and my lunch is often a beef stick and a protein bar. Like a good quality protein bar that has not a ton of crazy, crappy ingredients, but you like those 4 to 6 ingredient protein bars. Some of them are pricey, but I've found if you buy in bulk and get some different things, I have a couple different ones that I like that get you between 20 and 30 grams of protein in less than 200 calories usually. So going into lunch, I'm usually max at about 200 to 300 calories. Sometimes I'll just take leftovers for lunch of whatever Lexi made. If it's the right kind of like beef stew, I have some that I'm going to eat for lunch today, for example, because I took it yesterday and I forgot to eat, which I do often. If I'm working, I will sometimes forget to eat until dinner.
I do not understand that.
Well, I remembered at 2:30 and then I was like, I don't want to spoil dinner, so I'm just not going to eat. I'm uncomfortable, but I won't eat. So I will eat high protein at that point. Then I get home and I've eaten literally most days 200 to 300 calories. I eat dinner and I eat whatever Lexi makes and try to get protein. If I need to supplement more protein, I will eat something like an Oikos 000. Last night I had one of those with dinner to get closer to my protein goal.
We both really like those.
They're so great.
I think to me that was a huge compromise in that is low quality.
Yeah, it's not a whole food.
But here's the thing. This is, and I want to say this because this is how I'm thinking of it. I'm thinking it's either that or I'm going to go grab Ben and Jerry's. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have a vanilla Oikos. I'm going to add some peanut butter powder to it. I'm going to make some yummy. I have an egg white granola that I make. I'm going to put some chocolate chips on it. That totally satisfies me and is way better for me. Even if it's not like homemade raw yogurt, it's still better than the Ben and Jerry's.
Yep. And then at night before bed, at that point, because I'm usually hungry before bed, I'm obviously in a pretty significant calorie deficit at that point. For me, I can burn 3,000 calories in a day easily. It's not even difficult. If I go do something physically active, beyond that is not that difficult for me to get to. I played tennis the other day for like 4 hours. I probably preached 2 services, went and did that. I had eaten maybe 300 calories the whole day going into that. I probably burned over 1,000 calories playing 4 hours of tennis continuously. And then, so at night I'll eat oftentimes like beef jerky. I will eat turkey, lunch meat, something like that, with something I want. So if I'll have some einkorn cookies too with that and milk.
I did forget that I didn't talk about my lunches.
Yeah.
I try because I do want to keep beef in my diet, even though it's high fat. Yeah. Because it's, again, I'm not postmenopausal. I think it's really good for you to keep it in there. I try not to have it at lunch though. I do, because I will eat whatever at night. I try not to have beef very regularly for lunch. So it's typically going to be like chicken thighs, chicken breasts. Yeah. I will often marinate a whole bunch at once and bake them all at once. Yeah. And then put those with either like sweet potatoes, Japanese potatoes. I had a bunch of golden potatoes that I put in the Instant Pot last week that I've just been cutting up and again, frying in some good butter. Yep. And, or like salmon and salad.
And if you take the skin, like if you get boneless, skinless chicken thighs, there's a small change that you've removed a significant number of calories of fat from. Mm-hmm. So that's another one that you can often do. Yeah. So the difference for me though, if I work out, if I lift weights or do something significant like calorie expenditure, working out, I often do that in the morning. I will immediately after working out eat at least 30 to 50 grams of protein and take essential amino acids right after that. So I don't do a big heavy lifting session and then go through that whole day I just described. If I'm doing a heavy lifting session in the morning, I will immediately eat 30 to 50 grams of protein. Again, either it's still lower calorie, like in a Oikos 000 with some egg white granola that Lexi makes. Mm-hmm. I'll put 2 of those together. That's 30 grams of protein with the granola and less than 300 calories total. Mm-hmm. It's like significantly less than 300 calories. And then I'll take essential amino acids, which is a supplement. It's a powdered supplement that you mix with water. And it has all of the essential amino acids that go into a protein along with lutein. Mm-hmm. And it can support, there are studies that show that it can significantly support protein synthesis, muscle building, and it is like it's virtually a no calorie type of thing in the calorie budget. So I will add that as well when I'm doing a workout day or something like that.
When I was morning sick during my last pregnancy, I was really struggling to get enough protein. And I was actually by 13 weeks already spilling protein in my urine, which is a problem with my health history. And so I actually started using aminos because of that, because I just could not force myself to eat more meat. I didn't want anything else, but I was easily able to hide it in like a fruit kefir smoothie with aminos to bust that protein out the window. And I was able to correct, I think, a lot of the nausea through that very quickly.
Yeah. So here's kind of coming to the end here. I just want to reiterate the principles, because that's what we do. Those are some of the ways. Oh, and then there's other things like every week on Sunday, either Ari or Lexy usually makes some kind of dessert that's glorious, and we just eat it. We don't worry about it.
No, Sundays. I really liked, did you see that thing Becky Pliego posted recently where she said, like, don't count your macros on Sunday. Don't worry about your calories. This is my way of reminding myself that my life is not in my own hands, but in Christ's. And I was like, yes, that's so perfect.
Yeah, I think that it can be a good practice to have some, like, and I love doing it on Sundays where we have some kind of treat, and we just don't think about it. We're not trying to make it super healthy or anything. Again, because not every meal and not every day is a treat, but that can be. And then if you're really significantly thinking about weight loss and you really want to be disciplined about it, even on a Sunday, don't let yourself eat 6,000 calories on a Sunday and undo all of the discipline of the week. Be reasonable about it. Still have discipline, but you can allow yourself, like, I'm going to add this thing I wouldn't normally. I'm not going to be in a deficit this day. Maybe I'm going to end up with 500 or 700 calorie surplus that day, but I know that because I did a 500 calorie surplus every day this week, that's 3,000 I've banked. Well, I still was in 2 to 2,500 this week. That's, 6/10 or 3/4 of a pound of fat loss. I'm on track for that sustainable fat loss. And
something I've just noticed, I really enjoy baking, like the science and art of baking. When you get really into true good quality baking, a lot of those recipes are a lot less sugar. And a lot of them, you're making the dough and letting it sit for so long that you are technically fermenting it, which also helps with that blood sugar spike, which should help with stuff like that. So through most of my pregnancy on Sundays, I fermented everything I baked. I don't necessarily do that anymore, but I was just trying to be extra mindful, but give myself freedom. So that's one easy way to do that.
Yep. So to reiterate, these are starting points for you. If you know, like, I do need to have body recomposition. I need to lose fat. I'm not healthy. I need to be more disciplined about this. Be sustainable. Make a plan that's achievable. Make a plan that factors in what my calorie budget is, how I'm going to achieve a calorie deficit that's responsible, prioritize protein, and then reverse engineer and figure out the food ahead of time that you're going to use in a given week to accomplish that, and then execute it and be disciplined. Remember what we said last time. One of the most important steps to start this process is to weigh everything, measure everything. Weigh all the food you eat for a week, and you will be surprised at how much you're eating. Don't forget to include every sauce you dip in something in or add, or every pat of butter you put in the cooking pan with the eggs. Like, don't forget all that stuff. Be really ruthless with yourself and track it. And then figure out a sustainable way for you to genuinely know how many calories you're eating in a day and what they're made of, until you have habits built and you're on the trajectory where you can at that point say, like, I don't actually need to anymore weigh exactly every single thing I eat, because I can now look and say, this much rice is this much rice, and this much chicken is this much chicken. And I'm not lying to myself anymore, or just making mistakes I didn't realize I was making. And if you execute that plan and tweak it as you go for how you feel, what makes it easier for you, snacks that you find you really like. For us, it's like Oikos 000, cottage cheese. A lot of these things are like life hacks for us, but they're just things we like that we found that helped. There'll be different things for you. Find those things that let you have some joy in the process. get exercising, get moving in ways you'll start to feel better. You will make progress if you maintain discipline on these things. And remember that above all, why are we talking about any of this? We're talking about all of this because we're not our own. We belong to God. Our bodies are a gift from God, and they were given to us so that we can serve God and serve our people. And we will much more effectively do that if we're disciplined in how we care for and maintain our bodies so that we can have longevity to see our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and so that we can be useful to our people even into our old age, so that we can be healthy and feeling better day by day as we go through life, and also exercise that discipline that's good for the soul of denying yourself things that you really want. It's a muscle that when you exercise it here, you're going to see that muscle of self-control generate good fruit, even spiritual fruit, in other areas of your life where you need that muscle of saying, I want to do this, but I know I'm going to say no to this desire that I have of the body right now. It's the same muscle that you're exercising in chastity. It's the same muscle you're exercising when you say no to any sinful temptation. Not that eating food is a sin, but it's the same muscle of self-control and self-rule. Remember that a man who does not have self-rule is like a city without walls. So we want to be a city with walls. It's well defended, watchful, and this is one of the ways, some of the good works that you'll walk in along the way to that road. And we hope this has been helpful. We hope it hasn't been, embarrassing or an attack on you. We're right there with you. We've had our own challenges and journey of learning these things ourselves, and we'll continue to have those as we go. Any last thoughts, Lexy, before we wrap this episode up?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, excellent, guys. Well, once again, if you enjoy Bright Hearth, we would encourage you to become a supporter of the show. You can chip in a few bucks a month, and we do have some benefits as a thank you for that, but it really just helps us maintain this project, continue to pay all of the people and our great employees at New Christian Press that touch these projects. Every episode of Bright Hearth passes through multiple hands, and we're very thankful. Thank you as well to our great sponsors, Christian businesses. Make sure you support those. If they have a product that you use, go consider their business. These guys are doing good work, whether it's elderberries or Indigo Sundry soap or whatever it is. These are great Christian businesses that we commend to you and hope that you'll support, and that helps us as well. Thanks for listening, guys. And hey, we'll see you next week. Not in 2 weeks, but next week on Bright Hearth.